Leave your brain alone. It sounds like counterintuitive advice, doesn't it? In a world where we are constantly bombarded by stimuli and information, the idea of simply letting the mind relax can seem almost impossible. However, it is precisely this practice can bring a profound transformation in our mental health and well-being. Have you ever noticed how often the more we try to control our thoughts, the more they rebel? It's like trying to tame a wild horse with brute force. But what if there was a gentler and more effective way to deal with the mind? An approach that not only reduces stress and anxiety, but also improves self-awareness and promotes true emotional health. On this journey, we will discover how understanding and accepting the brain's natural functioning can be the key to a fuller and more relaxed life. Let's explore together techniques and insights that will transform the way you relate to your thoughts. Get ready to dive into a new perspective that challenges the status quo and offers quick and meaningful rewards. By the end of this content, you will be equipped with practical tools to leave your brain alone and consequently improve your quality of life. Let's start this journey of self-discovery together. Imagine yourself in a quiet room where a mentor asks you to do a simple thing. Stop breathing. It seems like an impossible task, doesn't it? And that's exactly what he wants to show. Stopping breathing goes against our nature, because breathing is an automatic function of our body. Every second, our body manages this vital function without us having to think about it. Now let's explore how this concept applies to self-awareness and well-being. Just as with breathing, there are other automatic functions that we cannot simply turn off. Try to control your heart rate just with the power of thought, or stop blinking for a long period. This is not something we can completely master. These functions, although simple, are deeply rooted in our nervous system, just like our thoughts. Our brain is a complex machine that works incessantly, taking care of our mental and emotional health. But what does this have to do with our thoughts? The key lies in understanding that some things are automatic and inevitable. This brings a new perspective on how we deal with our minds. Accepting that we cannot control everything helps us focus on what we can actually change. Instead of fighting against these automatic processes, we can learn to work with them, promoting deeper and lasting well-being. Just like breathing, thinking is an automatic function of our brain. Imagine someone asking you to stop thinking for a minute. No matter how hard you try, thoughts keep coming up like an incessant breath of the mind. No matter how much you strive, it is not possible to turn off this constant flow. This is essential to understand our emotional health. Common that when trying to control our thoughts, we end up creating more stress and anxiety. We try to suppress worries, avoid unpleasant memories, or force positive thinking. However, this effort can be as unproductive as trying to stop breathing. The mind needs this flow to function properly, and trying to interrupt it only generates more frustration. To achieve well-being, it is essential to recognize the nature of thoughts and the impossibility of controlling them all. By accepting that thoughts come and go on their own, we open up space for a new relationship with our mind. Instead of fighting against negative or unwanted thoughts, we can observe these thoughts without judgment. This allows us to maintain a more balanced and serene state of self-awareness. It's like learning to surf the waves of thought instead of being dragged by them. This approach can transform our mental and emotional health, promoting a sense of inner peace. Let's do a little mental experiment. Close your eyes and for a moment try not to think about a bright sun. What happened? The sun appears in your mind almost instantly, doesn't it? This simple exercise illustrates how the brain works. When we try to avoid thinking about something specific, that's exactly what we end up thinking about. It's a fascinating peculiarity of our brain that helps us better understand our emotional health. This ability of the brain to generate thoughts automatically is both a blessing and a challenge. On one hand, it allows us to be creative and solve problems efficiently. On the other hand, it can lead to ruminations and unwanted thoughts. Knowing that the brain works this way can be a crucial step in self-awareness. Instead of fighting against this feature, we can learn to use it to our advantage, improving our well-being. By accepting that we cannot completely control our thoughts, we begin to change the way we interact with them. When an unwanted thought arises, instead of trying to suppress it, we can simply acknowledge it and let it pass like clouds in the sky. This practice not only reduces anxiety, it also improves our mental and emotional health. Experiencing this technique daily can profoundly transform the way we feel and think. Instead of trying to control our thoughts, the secret lies in learning to relate to them differently. Imagine that your thoughts are like guests at a party. Some are pleasant and welcome, while others are unwanted and noisy. Trying to expel the unwanted ones only creates more confusion and chaos. However, if we accept all thoughts as temporary visitors, we can interact with them more harmoniously. This approach allows us to observe our thoughts without fully identifying with them. When a negative or stressful thought arises, instead of getting emotionally involved, we can simply notice it and let it follow its path. This healthy detachment significantly improves our well-being and emotional health. Practicing thought observation can be done during moments of meditation or simply throughout the day. A practical example of this technique is mindfulness meditation, where we focus on breathing or bodily sensations while letting thoughts pass without interference. Over time, this practice strengthens our ability to remain present and less reactive to thoughts. In this way, we cultivate a state of self-awareness and tranquility that positively impacts our mental health. Now imagine yourself in a situation where someone asks you to name streets in Madrid in just 10 seconds. It seems challenging, doesn't it? Now, shift gears. Think of random words like cat, tree, and happiness. It's much easier, right? This experiment reveals something fascinating about how our brain associates and organizes information. When we are asked to focus on a specific set of data, we may get stuck. But when we let the mind be free, associations flow naturally. This tendency of the brain to effortlessly associate concepts shows how it works best when not under pressure. Our thoughts work similarly. When we try to force the mind to think in a certain way, we often get stuck in repetitive patterns. However, by allowing the mind to wander freely, new ideas and solutions can emerge. This is fundamental to our self-awareness and well-being. One practical way to apply this idea is to use brainstorming techniques without judgment. Instead of trying to find a perfect solution right away, jot down all the ideas that come up, even the ones that seem absurd. This process helps unleash the brain's creative potential and can lead to valuable insight. By understanding how our mind naturally operates, we can improve our emotional and mental health, promoting a more balanced state of well-being. Understanding how the brain works is the first step in changing our relationship with thoughts. When we accept that we cannot control all aspects of the mind, we pave the way for a more relaxed and coherent life. Think of it as learning to swim instead of fighting against the current. By observing thoughts without judgment, we can reduce anxiety and improve our mental health. This new perspective allows us to create an internal space of peace and clarity. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by incessant thoughts, we can start seeing them as passing clouds. This doesn't mean ignoring our problems, but rather approaching them with a calmer and more rational attitude. Techniques such as mindfulness meditation and the practice of acceptance can be incredibly useful in this process. Implementing these changes doesn't happen overnight, but with patience and practice, it is possible to transform our relationship with the mind. Try dedicating a few minutes a day to simply observing your thoughts without trying to change them. Over time, this practice will strengthen your ability to maintain a state of well-being and self-awareness. And by adopting this approach, you will discover a new way of living, more aligned with your emotional and mental health. Now that you understand how the brain works and how we can better relate to our thoughts, the next step is to apply this knowledge in your daily life. Ask yourself, how can you start observing your thoughts without judgment? What can change in your routine to promote more self-awareness and emotional health? Try dedicating a few daily minutes to mindfulness practice, or simply allow yourself to be present in the moment. Remember, transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. How can you integrate these techniques practically and consistently into your life? Perhaps start with small breathing exercises or thought observation. Every effort toward mental well-being is worthwhile and brings lasting benefits. Subscribe to the channel, activate notifications to continue learning about how to improve your mental and emotional health. Together we can explore more tools and strategies for a more balanced and happy life. Don't wait any longer to start this change. Your well-being is just one step away.